Pico stood at the very edge of the swaying nest, his small claws digging deep into the woven twigs. Below him, the world seemed impossible. The forest floor was a dark, distant blur of moss and shadow, a terrifying drop that made his head spin. His siblings had already vanished into the canopy long ago, their cheerful chirps fading into the rhythmic rustle of the leaves. Now, Pico remained alone. His breast feathers shivered against the cool morning air, a chill that seeped into his skin. He stared out at the vast blue expanse of the horizon, a beautiful yet frightening void. Despite the call of the sky, his wings stayed pressed tight against his sides, locked by a fear he could not name. He was a prisoner of his own doubt, watching the world move on without him, while he clung to the only safety he had ever known. A sudden, violent gust of wind shook the branch, and the nest tilted sharply. Pico stumbled, his talons slipping on the smooth bark. He scrambled desperately to regain his balance, his heart hammering against his ribs like a trapped moth desperate for escape. Just as he steadied himself, he looked down. Far below, in the rising thermals, a hawk circled with predatory grace. The sight sent a jolt of pure panic through his tiny frame. Not today, he thought, his breath coming in ragged gasps. He sank back into the center of the nest, burying his beak deep into his chest feathers, trying to disappear. The world was too big, too sharp, and far too dangerous for a bird who didn't know how to use his own strength. He curled into a ball, wishing the wind would simply stop and leave him in peace. Moments later, the harsh wind died down, replaced by a gentle breeze that felt steady and rhythmic. It was soft, like a mother's touch, catching the loose down around his throat and gently pulling him forward. Pico took a long, ragged breath, smelling the pine in the open air. He realized the nest was no longer a sanctuary, but a cage. With a sudden surge of instinct overriding his fear, he pushed off the rough bark. He didn't jump. He simply let go. He tipped over the edge, leaving the solid world behind, surrendering himself to the gravity he had feared his entire life. He plummeted. For a heartbeat that felt like an eternity, Pico fell through the empty air, his eyes squeezed shut and his claws grasping at nothingness. The wind roared in his ears, a deafening sound of failure. Then, instinct took over. He snapped his wings outward with every ounce of strength he possessed. The air resistance caught him with a sudden violent jerk that nearly knocked the wind out of him. He snapped his eyes open. The massive tree trunk was racing past him at terrifying speeds.
He beat his wings once, then twice, feeling the air begin to harden and push back beneath his feathers. He wasn't falling anymore. He was cutting through the sky. He leveled out, banking hard to avoid a thick, jagged branch that loomed in his path. The forest floor, once a source of terror, began to drop away as he climbed higher and higher. He found an updraft, a warm current of air that pulled him toward the clouds. He was no longer a victim of the wind, he was its master. Pico let out a sharp, piercing whistle of pure joy, his body carving a smooth, golden arc through the endless sky. The nest was now just a tiny, insignificant speck behind him, lost in the green. The horizon opened up, vast and limitless, inviting him to explore a world without end. He was finally where he was meant to be. He was finally free.